I was recently surprised when I was contacted by a customer who had bought a mower from me last season, and unfortunately, it was not the phone call I was hoping to get. They told me their son was using it when it had a little accident and the wheel came off. I then went over, picked it up, and this is what it looked like. I've never seen anything like this before, but when I got a better look at it, I had to wonder, was this done on purpose? In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at this Craftsman lawnmower, and the problem is, well, do I really need to say it out loud? Obviously, it's missing an entire wheel. Now, I'm going to try and repair this lawnmower, but yours might be different, so this might not work on yours. So if things are not working out for you, like in this video, please ask about it. I'll be glad to answer your questions. So in most cases, the people that buy the mowers that I'm selling are going to use it themselves, but there are those cases where they won't be the ones to use it. Instead, it'll be for their child to use, whether on their own lawn or on other people's lawns to make a few bucks. So this mower's past is a bit tough to recall. Luckily, I do keep enough records, at least visually, of how I got this mower in the first place, and I quickly realized that this mower had a self-propel issue to begin with, but after some work, I was able to free it and got it working again. So my first thought was to try to find out what happened to it and then fix it, but after looking at the condition of the rest of the mower and of course the wheels, I started to have some second thoughts about trying to save it. However, I then had to consider if I was going to make this repair under warranty or if they should have to pay for the entire fix. I then had to consider everything I knew about the customer and the mower's previous condition and its repair, and basically came to the conclusion that the problem was due to wear and tear and not the result of the user. Now, the other reason was because I didn't have any evidence to say that it was intentional either, so I really didn't have much of a choice. Now, most are not going to agree with my decision, and that's okay, because understanding their choices might be difficult for me to understand if I wasn't in their shoes either. There is one more thing that simply doesn't make any sense to me, and when you see it, I think you'll agree. So here is the wheel that came off the mower, but you're going to notice something kind of strange. So as you can see, the nut for the wheel is still in place. However, if you look at the backside of the wheel, you notice where it's supposed to be attached at. The strange part is that the drive gear is on the other side of this opening and will not fit through it. So how does the wheel come off and yet the drive gear is still in place? It would need to come off to remove this section of the wheel. I really thought this was kind of strange, but before I started to second guess myself, I'm going to move on, because if I think about it for too long, I'm probably going to start asking more questions that more than likely I won't be able to get answers for. Now, before I get too far into this repair, I do want to make sure the engine still starts, otherwise there's no point in continuing if the engine's broken. Now, it's only been a year since I sold this mower, and as you can see, the oil still looks decent despite how the rest of the mower looks. Fortunately, after checking the oil level, it would seem that it's still good, even though some of it is sitting on the mowing deck. Now, if the engine doesn't start for us, well, we're going to have a big problem on our hands. So the engine starts and runs, but it seems to be smoking quite a bit. However, because it started to smoke immediately after starting it, I do believe some of the oil was able to make it around the rings while in storage or in transit. Now, the good news is that the self-propel still works. However, trying to fix the rest of the mower might be more trouble than it's worth, mainly because of the amount of wear that's already on it. Now, I think the best way to fix this mower would be to move the engine to a different mowing deck with a lot less wear on it, but why? The main reason why is because since the left wheel fell off, the same thing could happen to the right one. So in order to make sure this problem isn't going to come up again, I just happen to have this mower that has the same mowing deck, but with an engine that needs some work. So what better way to deal with the problem but to donate this mowing deck to this project instead? But what about the engine on the donor mower? Well, you're going to be seeing more of it pretty soon, but for right now, we need to get started with the swap. So as you can see, they're basically the same mower. One just happens to have the older engine on it, while the other one has the newer overhead valve engine on it. And from the comments I've gotten over the last couple of years, most don't seem to like the newer engines in comparison to the older ones, so most would seem to agree with doing this swap. Now, the process of swapping engines between two mowing decks is not all that difficult, and here's why. Now, most of the time when you're swapping engines, it's a good idea to stay within the same brand, and the only times when things get really tough is when the engines are from different brands. Fortunately, that's not the case here. It's off with the new Briggs engine and on with the old one. There's just one problem, and it has to do with the blade adapter. So when swapping engines, the blade adapter needs to stay with the mowing deck. That means you need to be able to remove the blade adapter so you can put it on the other engine. So what happens when you can't take off the blade adapter? Well, this is when things get really difficult, so hopefully that doesn't happen here. That was a lot of foreshadowing. Now, to be able to get the adapter off the shaft, you might sometimes need to use some sort of a puller. Now, you can either take it off as you're taking the engine off or after you get it removed, and for some reason I decided to leave it on this one, but for the other one I have to get it off before I can get the engine off the mowing deck. Now, unless the mowers are the exact same model and the serial numbers are really close together, the blade adapters might not be the exact same part. That's the first reason why you need to remove them so you can swap them. And since this mower has a plastic guard under the engine to protect the drive belt, I'm going to need to remove the adapter to take off the guard and then finish removing the engine. Now, I've had my puller for a really long time and it's worked very well all that time, but for some reason this adapter was quite stubborn and I think I know why. So I got this mower from a gentleman who told me that the blade was just recently replaced, and of course one of the reasons why you would change a blade is because it gets damaged. And why does a blade get damaged? Simple, because you hit something with it you shouldn't have. What this can do is damage the keyway in the adapter to a point that it's almost impossible to remove, not without using hydraulic pressure. After realizing that I wasn't going to be able to take it off while the mower was on the ground, I decided to rip off the guard and finish taking off the engine. That way I could try while the engine was on the table instead, which makes it a bit easier to deal with. I'm also going to try to use some heat to expand the metal on the adapter just to give me a better chance in taking it off. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get as hot as I wanted to, but I still wanted to try because I need to put this adapter on the other engine. However, after using my puller, I soon realized I had a bigger problem. Turns out one of the arms had broken from the immense stress of trying to remove a damaged adapter. Now, I'm going to deal with the adapter later on, but right now I need to find out what the differences are between one adapter to the other one. The reason why is because since I can't take this one off, I'll have to just use what's on the other engine on this mower. And if there's too much of a difference between them, then I might not be able to use that engine on this mower unless I have a spare adapter from a different project, but if it's close enough, then it might still work. So luckily both adapters are the same length, which means it'll put the blade in the same location in relation to the mowing deck. However, the pulley diameter on the good engine is 18% bigger than the original one. Now, is this going to be a big problem? And the answer is maybe. What's going to happen is that it's going to spin the transmission pulley faster than it should be by at least 18%. Basically, the top speed for the drive might also increase by the same percentage, and depending upon how old you are or if you have a medical condition, this might be a problem. Now, from what I can tell, because their son is the one doing the mowing, I'm going to guess this won't be a real issue. I mean, we're talking about a difference of less than 1 mile per hour, so I'm going to continue with the swap. I am, however, going to give this mowing deck a good cleaning since it appears that I never gave it one when I got this mower over 3 years ago. So why am I taking this mower apart? Well, when I got it from the gentleman, he told me that he had a new blade on it, and when I got it started, I soon realized that the crankshaft was severely bent. In fact, it was so bad at the time that I didn't want to do anything with it. That's why it was in the boneyard. It was only when the other mower showed up with the issue it was having that I decided to take a look through the boneyard and realize that this mower might finally get to be used for something, although most might not see it that way, which I can't blame them. To be honest, if the other mower hadn't lost its wheel, more than likely this mower would have been lost in a sea of mowers, blowers, and trimmers until one day when I have to move everything, so I'm kind of happy the other one showed up. Now, I had thought about swapping the transmission pulley between both mowers, but I could run the chance of making things worse, so I'm not going to bother with it. Besides, going a bit faster might not be so bad. Now, you might be wondering what my return policy is for mowers I sell, and to be honest, I really don't have one. And the reason why is because I base it on the individual, meaning if you were a real pain to deal with up to the point of the sale, then don't expect any favors from me. However, this woman was very nice and respectful, so when she came to me and told me what happened, all she wanted to know was what I could do for it. She never even asked to be covered by warranty. Now, was I being nice? And the answer was, you bet I was, and the reason why is because she was nice about it. She could have easily been nasty about the whole thing, but instead she didn't, and for that I was very grateful. Now, there is also one rule which is not spoken out loud because it's something for me to know, which is you only get one freebie. And what I mean by that is that if it does have issues and you want me to try to fix it, and it didn't look as though you had done it on purpose, I don't have an issue trying to fix it. But if it happens again the second time, it'll be viewed with a lot more scrutiny. It's happened before with the owner of a Toro lawnmower that always seemed to have the same issue year after year until finally I told them they need to take it somewhere else. The reason why is because they never seemed to listen to what I was trying to tell them, and on top of that, they never really appreciated the work I did for them, even at a really good price. So I let them find out what the service is like from a repair business with waiting times and a higher labor cost. Now, they did try to come back to me a few times, but I was always backed up with work and they always needed their stuff done in a hurry, so you know what that means, no soup for you. Now, that was kind of odd. It looks like they kept a bottle of oil in the mulch plug for some reason. I would like to ask them why, but they've since moved away and I think their kids have control of the house now. Of course, I really didn't need to clean the mower before doing the swap, but it's mainly for personal reasons why I do it. Now, more than likely, considering how the other mower came back to me, they wouldn't even notice that this mower was clean, although hopefully they'll at least notice that the mower is a different color. Now, I did test out this mower years ago, so I do know that the self-propel works just like it should, so there shouldn't be any surprises later on. It's just a shame that the crankshaft was so badly bent that the engine was shaking violently, so much so that the carb was leaking fuel out of the airbox because the float wasn't able to regulate fuel flow into the carb. So it was pretty obvious that the crankshaft was bent and causing the shaking, but I didn't realize the leak was related to it until I tried to fix it. Only to realize that the leak was only happening while the engine was running. It didn't do it when the engine was off, which I've never seen before up until that point. So the project stopped right there until I could figure out what to do with it. Of course, I could always just bend the crankshaft back into shape, but I'm always afraid that it'll weaken it and sometime in the future it will break and hurt someone. Now, I am also going to clean the other engine as well, considering that it's going to look kind of weird to have a clean mower but a disgusting engine mounted to it. Now, once I clean all the dirt and oil off of it, I'll then let it dry and finally install it onto the other mowing deck, but I am running out of time to finish this project and I'll have to come back to it once I get more free time. Now, if I hadn't used all my time trying to get a stuck blade adapter off the other engine, I probably would have finished this project in one sitting, but setbacks like this can't be avoided sometimes and you need to be prepared when they do happen. And yes, I could have saved some time if I didn't bother cleaning parts of the mower as well as the engine, but then again, it is my choice to do so. Just out of curiosity, I do want to see what's so special with that oil bottle that they needed to have it hidden, but after getting it cleaned, it turns out there's nothing in it. I guess it must have been a convenient way to keep the engine oil topped off. So my question is very obvious. Do you think I made the wrong choice to fix this mower under warranty, or are you okay with my choice? There's no right or wrong answer to this one. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or about your own projects, and I hope to see you in the next video.